There is a new spirit rising across the whole of this planet. I know that you too feel it in the depth of your being. It doesn't come from politics or pop culture, but it influences both. It isn't a human invention, nor is it some new algorithm or social media enterprise. Yet, it's everywhere. It rises from the great spirit within the human soul system. It is a presence and a power active in the universe and in your life. It lives within each of us, guiding us through this labyrinth of such a life on such a planet. As the world grows more complex, life becomes more complicated. We're seeing disruption at every level: personal, societal, planetary. The Urantia Book names it clearly in paper 99, section 4. It reads, "During the psychologically unsettled times of this century, thousands upon thousands of men and women have become humanly dislocated. They are anxious, restless, fearful, uncertain, and unsettled. Today, we live here on this planet, struggling between two revolutions that are taking place right here where we live, in the towns and the cities of our communities, in nations, and all across this world. The first, which we can all feel in our bones, is called a civilization emergency. The world is on fire with invention, but hungry for meaning. Technology races ahead, but wisdom simply limps behind. At times, it seems that hate is everywhere, yet truth is nowhere. As the Urantia Book warns, when material progress outruns worship and wisdom, civilization begins to collapse under the weight of its own brilliance. There is a collective consciousness sweeping the planet to such a degree that the Urantia papers say in paper 67 as to border on cosmic insanity. And we are the witnesses to that tipping point. We live in the face of swirling uncertainty, and what we need now are better ideas. We need solid anchors to hold the ship of our lives into something solid and dependable. We need cosmic clarity about the purpose and meaning of life and how we should live it. We need a revelation rooted in the real that we can take into the workshops of our soul and grow the soul into what it is meant to be. And it is so difficult in such a world as ours. Because when complexity deepens, it demands adaptation. Complexification leads to adaptation, and adaptation leads to emergence. And emergence, my friend, is the sign of something being born. Something new from something old. Something higher from something lower. Something greater from something lesser. What is breaking down is not nearly as important as what is breaking through. Some scholars call this moment the Fourth Great Awakening, as we see in this graphic. Others call it a spiritual revolution. But I believe that what we are living through is something even more profound, something omni-magnificent. We have now entered what scholars are calling the second axial age. So, the breaking down part, only half the story. Because the second revolution is rising with a quiet presence and a power. This is the spiritual renaissance. It is an uprising of soul hunger clamoring for more answers. It is the whisper of the Spirit of Truth in the hearts of billions, saying, there is something more, something greater, something truly magnificent. there is God, and there is love, active in the universe and in your life. Grow in it. It is this second revolution that calls us forth, not in fear or in panic, but in purpose, quiet, discreetly, but with a divine purpose. And that purpose is to bring forth the gift that you are to this universe and to this planet. Your piece of the cosmic puzzle that is necessary to complete the whole. And we have nothing to fear, because that which lies within you goes out ahead of you, preparing the path before you to fulfill that purpose. And then it continues to do that all the way ahead, leading into the arms of eternity and in tune with the infinite. And that, dear friends, is why we came to the TEP program. Not to retreat from a crazy world, but to re-enter it with spiritual eyes. To become teachers of light, midwives of meaning, and messengers of a new gospel that tells us the universe is friendly. God is our loving parent, and we are all one family. The first Axial age, around 600 BCE, gave birth to the great traditions of our past. The Tao, the Upanishads, the prophets, the Buddha, the great Hebrew prophets, and the early philosophers of every race and culture on the planet. A consciousness revolution rippled across continents, calling humanity out of tribalism and into transcendence. But that age came with a shadow. It taught us that those who do not believe as we do are the enemy, the other. It taught us that this world has something to flee from, that salvation meant escape, that we are separate from nature, from each other, and from God. But now a new awareness is rising, a realization that our journey to eternity is already begun, here, right here where we live. Today, the truth of interconnection is pouring in from every field of study, from neuroscience, ecology, physics, and from evolutionary biology, sacred activism, and yes, even Instagram. We're learning once more that we belong to the cosmos, that the spirit within us is here to take our individual gifts and bring them into a divine purpose. A purpose that lies within your mind energy system, waiting for you to discover it and to act on it. It whispers to us that we belong to each other, and together we belong to the cosmos as cosmic citizens. That spirit is not up there somewhere, but right here within you. And the whole of creation is evolving onward and upward towards something new, something of supreme value. This is the heart of the second axial shift. Not a departure from Earth, but a marriage of the heavens of our traditions and the new awakening that is rolling through our world as a beautiful wind of divine consciousness within each of us, calling us, but not as an escape into the divine, but a return of the divine into the world. We're not here to leave the world behind. We're here to serve in its transformation. We're here to reveal what Jesus lived, that the divine doesn't run from the human. The divine indwells us. It redeems us. It walks with us in the dust, because dust we are, and to the dust our body shall return. But the soul, the purpose, and the gift you are, moves one step closer to the infinite. It rises now from within those who are seeking for something they cannot exactly name. It stirs those hungry for purpose, for meaning, for truth, in such a confused world. But it is rising. Rising in the quiet cafes, in therapy offices, in Zoom rooms and classrooms, hospitals, and in yoga studios and forest walks on every continent of this planet. The spiritual life is no longer the domain of monks or ministers or priests or prophets. It is the birthright of every soul, your heart, your mind. As one scholar of spirituality wrote, the spiritual renaissance is the emergence of contemporary spirituality. It rises because we have outgrown the ideas of previous times. A universal spiritual wisdom is awakening, and it will eventually transform our splintered world. And as the Urantia Book echoes this same emergence, Urantia is now quivering on the very brink, one of the most amazing and enthralling epochs of social readjustment, moral quickening, and spiritual enlightenment. And friends, some of us have already stepped into this epoch. Not because it's easy, not because we're perfect, but because we are ready, because we heard the call, a divine whisper saying, "It's time, come and see." I entered the Teacher Education Program, TEP. I expected coursework. What I found was transformation. We weren't just studying revelation. We were becoming it, living it, week by week, page by page, soul by soul. We were being revealed to recognize who we are, cosmic citizens building the city of God. We discovered ministry not in books, but in presence. We learned to listen not only to our instructors, but to the spirit within. And we followed the courage to allow that still small voice to speak these truths long buried in the prehistory of our world, but now brought into the light of a new dawn. And we found the way to live a good life is to love across barriers and boundaries. And we found the inspirations to serve with joy, conviction, and determination. And we learned what the Urantia papers tell us in paper 92, section 4, that revelation must always be limited by man's capacity of receptivity. And so this is our greatest work now, to expand that capacity of receptivity, to become the people who can carry more light and more love into a world in need of healing, in need of hope, in need of comfort. Because the cultural receptivity now present on our world is as fragrant as it has ever been, and it is attracting those who are receptive to this call. However, many are called, but it is so sad to report that so few answer this call. But we did. And year one gave us not just an education, but an activation. Not just information, but a solid foundation. We ground the grains of truth in the mill of experience so folks new to the Spirit could be fed truth, beauty, and goodness in words that fit with their worldview. We learned what Jesus taught the miller in paper 133. He said, "Give the milk of truth to those who are babes in spiritual perception. Serve spiritual food in attractive forms suitable to the capacity of each inquirer." The world today is not starved for more facts. It is starved for wisdom. People are drowning in data, but dying of thirst for connection, for belonging. We are rich in information, but poor in meaning. But the teachings of the fifth epochal revelation, when lived, can change that. So I ask you now, what will you do with what you've read? What will you become now that you know, and you know that you know? These are not just rhetorical questions. They are the very ones that we may be asked in the resurrection halls of the first Mansonia. What can we answer? So if you feel that stirring inside, that whisper of eternity, that warmth of infinity, that divine wind in your soul, then maybe you too are being called, not to convert, not to convince, but to become a living chapter of the revelation. TEP is not just a course. It's a community. It's a calling. It's a quiet rising of the Spirit through people like you, willing to walk in the way, willing to serve in the light, willing to become cosmic citizens building the city of God here in the cities of man. The truths we studied are not meant to sit on a shelf. They are meant to be carried out into all of the world, to heal, to uplift, to inspire, and to bring comfort to all those who suffer in uncertainty in that other civilization emergency. So I leave you with this small blessing for a greater good. May your smallest acts become seeds in tune with the infinite. May your path lead you through the corridors of time and into the arms of eternity. And may you leave behind you a trail of actualized reality as partners in the unfolding of the Supreme. And may your ministry never be confined to the walls of any institution, but to flow outward in every risk for truth, every act of love, every soul you uplift as you pass by. Because walking in the streets of the city of man are you, the builders of the city of God. Come and see.